everybody, it's Drybear. So a new post just went up on Reddit r Gaming, and I would love to talk about it, both as an avid gamer since I was young, also as a man who is moving into his 30s and losing his deftness in his gamer skills, but not mindset. I'm the youngest I've ever been. This post came up talking about gaming difficulty as an accessibility issue as gaming generations get older. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about, should difficulty be something that is built into games? Should the accessibility be available, and what that should look like? So this was the post on our Reddit, so we can go through it really quickly, but the topic is gaming difficulty is an accessibility issue in older gamers. I'm one of the first generation of gaming. This is done by Ken LaSalle. I was born in 1965, and I was there for Pong, the Atari 2600, and I'm nearly 60. My hands are arthritic, and they don't move as quickly. Video games are becoming too difficult for me to play. And maybe in a few years, I won't be able to finish any games because of their difficulty. I believe gaming should be an accessibility issue. Difficulty in games should be able to be modified to whatever degree the player wishes, for the player to be able to find as much enjoyment or challenge they wish. This would expand the gaming market and allow the first generation of gamer to continue gaming. And this has been actually a very big topic in general. You'll hear people talking about difficulty options. And there's actually been some very big beats in the industry with things like Demon Souls for the first time, Dark Souls, Cuphead, things like that, where part of the game's design and direction is it's very difficult to play, and overcoming that difficulty is actually core to the experience of the game. Then we also have recently games like God of War Ragnarok, where you end up having a lot of hand-holding and backseating with some of the strategies in combat and things like that. And I can definitely relate to this a little bit. You know, I'm 32, going on 33 now. I've been playing ever since I was conscious. You know, I've been on a computer playing Commander Keen and Pong and playing games ever since. And I'm definitely getting to the point now where when I play, you know, 3D action games or games specifically on a controller, I can start feeling my wrists and my hands and my fingers starting to build up, and those injuries recover slower. I remember when I used to be able to play Mario Party by rubbing, you know, you get your Mario Party calluses, and those would go away within a couple days. Now, even playing, you know, God of War, the new God of War, my fingers can hurt for upwards of a week afterwards. So this topic is interesting because in general, I think that having different difficulties is good. And let me know what you think down below on whether or not the difficulty should be there. But I think most single player games, especially if you buy it for an experience and you want to be able to play it and enjoy it just like any other game, you should be able to tailor that to whatever your experience is. And most games do this. They have an option for people that just want to enjoy the story. They want to experience the game overall. They have an option for people that like the story, but they want a little bit of challenge, and then a moderate amount of challenge, and then a high amount of challenge. And in a lot of games, we've actually seen, you know, value in there being the impossible difficulty, right? Devil May Cry having Dante Must Die, where your health is always regenerating or going downward. You have the Evil Within series with a Kumu mode, where everything one-shots you. And I've done Evil Within 1 on a Kumu mode. It was painful, but very satisfying to accomplish and get it done. And then you have Give Me God of War and the new God of War, both the new God of Wars, things like that. And then you have Cuphead, Demon Souls when it first came out. The big thing about Demon Souls, and one of the reasons why Sony lost the rights to the Dark Souls title, is because they were worried about the game being too difficult. It was too hard. People didn't want to play it, and it ended up becoming its own genre of games that are difficult. They force you to overcome that difficulty or not. So I think that having difficulty should be a tool set for the developer and the designers and the creators to be able to play with, to create. But there should obviously be options for that. I think what they're getting at here specifically with this post, getting back to the original poster, is whether or not that difficulty is something that is accessible to a wide range, right? If you are someone who is aging, all right, you're getting wiser and you're leveling up as a wizard, and there are things that you can't accomplish anymore. There are plenty of Dark Souls speedrunners that have played the game for a long time, and they have repeat injury strains, they have arthritis, things like that, and you just can't simply perform the tasks that you need. Even games like StarCraft, there are a lot of times where you hit peak StarCraft performance at the age of 16 or 17. A lot of the high level performers, especially in StarCraft 1 and in RTS games like that with high APM, they were very young because they were able to keep the high APM, actions per minute, and able to input everything they need to accomplish that. And as you get older and older and your reaction time slow, you'll see more of those older gamers that still remain competitive going into more strategy games that require the mind rather than the hands and the input and the motor reflexes. So what do you think? Should most single player or all single player games have ways as an accessibility option to include more gamers to lower or ease the difficulty on things? And how far should that go? Should that be input related? Should there be scalers for puzzle? If we talk about games like Silent Hill has two separate difficulties for most of their games. They have the combat difficulty rating, and then they have the riddle difficulty rating. And in that case, based on your riddle difficulty, they will make the riddles more cryptic and harder to understand, which means it challenges your mind more. And then the combat rating is how hard the game is to play. And even looking at difficulty over the years and how it's developed, difficulty used to be in the days of like Half-Life 1, Doom, Duke Nukem. It was really just, to me, was the first iteration of difficulty, which was not a good one, which was scaling up bullet sponge aspect for combat, right? Just adding more HP to enemies, adding more damage to enemies. That's not the good way to do it. But nowadays, even in like Dark Pictures, for example, the higher difficulty will have smaller required reactions, like shorter reaction times for quick time events, which can make the game overall difficult. Then you have sliders in strategy games that might give you more time, or the AI scales with you. There's even dynamic difficulty, where based on how you perform, the game can get harder or easier. But I wanted to talk about this and just leave this to you guys on what you think this should be. Is there still room for games nowadays that have a minimum requirement of difficulty that if you cannot cross that bar, you cannot play the game? Or should all games have a scaler for difficulty where people can scale the game and change it and fit the difficulty needs that they have? And to what degree does that exist? Should that only be for specific games? Does this extend to multiplayer games? Does that mean that there should always be, the Winstons in team shooters that are a little bit more mechanically easy but positioning focused? Should MOBAs have characters that are exceptionally easy and easy to play? Should it go to MMOs? Should there be, even, talking about World of Warcraft is coming out soon. You have LFR, you have normal, you have heroic, mythic, and you have mythic plus, things like that. Scaling difficulty for people to be able to play. What do you think? Comment down below. Talk to other people. Let's get this conversation going. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content. Link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.